First of all, I just want to change the tone a little bit because I've seen this Charter Revision Commission work in the past, and I know that many of you have open minds, and sometimes when you do listen to people, you do make decisions. And I've seen in the past how ill-conceived proposals have been withdrawn when people have brought that to your attention. My official role here is to convey the wishes of the City Council, and I have a copy of a resolution that we passed unanimously by a vote of 7-0 on behalf of the City Council opposing this proposal. Now, you know the City Council doesn't come together 7-0 on bipartisan lines very often, so we must have had something that we all had in common. You know, when Steve Barshaw used to be the counsel to this body, this is the sort of issue that he would have pushed to the side as a code issue, not necessarily a charter issue. And if the mayor really wanted to change the city code, I believe he should have sent the proposal to the Yonkers City Council. We would have debated whether or not to change the city code. And believe me, if this does get on the ballot and does pass, the City Council will probably look at amending the code also. So it's possible that all you'll really be causing is chaos and litigation. Let's look at the process right now, and why does it work? It works because the Landmarks Board has public hearings, get public input, the Planning Board does the same, and then the Planning Board recommendation, along with the landmark recommendation, is sent to the City Council. And then we invite the public in, and we make a decision with public input. If you allow this change, the Planning Board can effectively veto the recommendation of the Landmarks Board, and we, the City Council, and the public will never have the opportunity to vote yes or no on the landmark proposal under the current system. We could if we changed the code, but we're not going to go down that path because we want to do something that's most efficient. The other thing is that once the Landmarks Board makes a decision on the property being landmarkable, and the City Council decides to landmark the buildings, the applicant then comes back to the Landmarks Board with both the certificate of appropriateness and a hardship application. And there's a period of negotiation. And I'm very pleased to say that over the past couple of months, the great city people have been negotiating with the Landmarks Board, the City Council has been involved, and it looks like they're heading towards a compromise. But if there was the ability to appeal that Landmarks Board, there wouldn't be the ability to negotiate. We wouldn't be heading towards a compromise. We'd probably still be in some sort of appeal decision right now, instead of very close to a project that looks like it's about to be approved. It's ironic that just last week the governor signed a bill expanding the state historic tax credit with the unanimous approval of the two houses of the state legislature, because it was an economic stimulus bill. Lastly, before I sit down, I just want to say that I respect the board, and despite the fact that the mayor and the press referred to the second-rate boards and commissions and opposed people like you and people like on the Landmarks Board having this power, I respect what you're doing here. Thank you very much.
My name is Bill Dennison. I live in the Bryn Mawr section of Yonkers, and I want to thank the Commission for the opportunity to say a few words. I would urge you not to change the current process. It seems to me this is very simply an effort on the part of the developers to make their life a bit easier at the expense of the people of our city. Development should not be easy. It should be difficult. Developers should have to answer all of the questions and concerns of the people of our city, especially those who are concerned about the preservation of important structures in our city. What happens with development is irrevocable. You can't go back and change it. All of the concerns of our city's citizens have to be heard and understood in this development process. It deeply affects everybody in the city and affects the future of our city. So don't make it easy for development. It should be difficult. It shouldn't be impossible, but it shouldn't be so easy. And they should answer the questions that the people of our city have. Secondly, I would urge you not to enter into this process of government by referendum. That is, there's a change suggested, and you put it on a referendum for the city vote. That's not a method for good government, and I think the state of California is a perfect example of how badly this works. We have elected officials, we have a mayor, we have a city council, and they're the ones who should determine how the processes go on in this city. And to suggest that every time the mayor wants to make a change it's put to referendum, I think is a terrible way to run our city government. I would urge you to not allow this proposal to go forward. Thank you.
Yes, sir. My name is Mark Short. I'm a resident of Cedar Knolls Colony, one of the first neighborhoods to be landmarked after the landmark ordinance was passed, thanks to the wisdom of our colony leaders. I purchased in Cedar Knolls specifically because it was a protected neighborhood. I could rest assured that there was not going to be any violent changes to the neighborhood's character after I purchased my home and invested in it. I have gone in front of the Landmark Preservation Board over a dozen times for improvements on the restoration of my Mediterranean-style home. I've invested over $500,000 in restoration of that house, which previously was uninhabitable. I would not have made that investment had it not been for the knowledge that the Landmark Preservation Board, which is a group of independent, well-qualified individuals with backgrounds in landmark preservation and historic structures, was not going to be there. I count on them for guidance. I count on them to be an independent arbiter that has a reputation of not being affected by political influence or paybacks or any other system. What you are doing in the proposal of this charter amendment is taking the guts out of the Landmark Preservation Board. Now, if somebody in the neighborhood wants to destroy their home, all they have to do is go around the Landmark Board, appeal their decision to the Planning Department, and an historic structure will be demolished, because I do not have faith that the Planning Board will stand up to any political pressure. They will buckle under. I have invested my time, my energies, and my love into my neighborhood. And so have 140 other people who live in Cedar Knolls and purchase in that premier community of Yonkers. We want the Landmark Preservation Board to have the full guts that it was designed to have in the initial landmark ordinance. And I beg you, please do not put this forth to amendment which will just rip out the heart of the Landmark Preservation Board and threaten my home values as well as my other 140 neighbors. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bob Snyder, 9 Manhattan Square. There's an old saying, everyone has an opinion. Well, in Yonkers, there's lots to have an opinion about. I respectfully believe that the existing balance between city agencies and the council has not only worked well, it also allows both sides to air their views. In my opinion, the current architecture, no pun intended, better serves the multiple goals of the city than the proposal. And speaking of opinions, I'd like to share a brief excerpt from a letter I've received. I don't mean this to be inflammatory, but merely to make a point ultimately about the balance of powers in modern government. Quote, Dear Bob, many thanks for the fascinating information about the launch and John Jay. You have done impressive research. We have our share of visionless progress down here as well. I will pass your information around over here. I wish you both luck and success. Please call me if you have any questions. Unquote. John Jay, of course, was the first Chief Justice. He's an unofficial patron saint of the Supreme Court and arguably of Yonkers too. John Jay is also a member of our own first family, the Phillipses. The Yonkers charter proposal certainly falls outside the jurisdiction of the writer of this letter, but it shows the wonderful potential and wide-ranging note that people are taking of Yonkers' greatness, both past and future. So you see, Yonkers has meaning to many people in many ways. I'm sure we can all agree on that. By the way, the letter I shared is from the Supreme Court of the United States. Thank you.